Ryan sat in front of dresser, doing her finishing touches of makeup. Her stomach rumbled and she groaned, getting annoyed at that sound. Why can't it cooperate with her? She wanted to look better tonight, of all days. Her husband, Jungkook, stepped out of closet looking as curt as ever. A sharp tailored suit that hugged his body like other skin. He was handsome. Too handsome, it always drove her crazy. But he never liked her, and that was a big reason of her suffering. He walked up to the dresser as well and picked up his Rolex, wearing it before applying his favorite perfume. He naturally smelled so good, but this one cologne, which he wore always, made her emotional, and she didn't know why. She took a mental note to gift another bottle of it to him on his birthday, because doing that to on any other day was going to weird the hell out of him. Jungkook, let's get going if you're ready. He didn't even notice how much work she put in dolling herself up just for him. She told herself it was okay and not to feel bad about it, and stood up with a heavy heart. Ryan, yes, you look handsome. He eyed her once and without another word left the room. Ryan caressed her chest a little, over her heart, and followed him. They got in car, which was a silent ride, and reached the venue. It was a business formal event which Jungkook had to attend, and being her wife, she had to be beside him, like a happily married couple. But the truth was, he told her he won't ever love her. When she asked the reason, he said it's because of her physique. It took a toll on her. Vine was usually a very confident person, but even she couldn't understand why hearing that from her husband affected her that much. She surely was chubby and had big round cheeks along with her body, but that never affected her before. Every time she saw him with other girls, it affected her even more. He never communicated with her, but he was all good with those stranger ladies, those ladies which were slim and beautiful. Her friend told her she didn't need to sacrifice herself to get her husband's attention. But what could she do? She already loved him and desperately needed his affection. Like now, as she looked at him who was talking to another lady all comfortably. She was the one holding his arm, but that lady had all of his attention. As the waiter passed by them, he picked up a glass and extended it towards the lady. Then he turned to Wine, and she finally smiled at his attention. Jungkook, you want something? She shook her head politely, and he dismissed the waiter, getting back to the lady as another man came up and he got even more busy. Lara, your wife is really pretty as well. How did you two met? It took Mine's attention as she looked at them at her mansion. Pretty. Did she think so? Why couldn't her man see that then? Jungkook. It was an arranged one, but that had to be the best decision. She's not only pretty, but the best wife ever. Wine was glad he kept her image, but there was this horrible feeling inside of her knowing that he didn't mean a single word. Lara, that's really sweet. It was not, and Wine slowly slid her arm out of his, saying a polite thank you to Lara and telling her she was beautiful as well. Wine, excuse me, I'll be back in a minute from restroom. She left his side and he never stopped her once. God, this horrible feeling in her stomach was getting worse, especially since she didn't eat anything for the last 2 days, only to look a little better tonight. She thought if she lost her weight, maybe he will finally spare her attention. As she stood in front of mirror, her eyes teared up and her heart started to ache. Ryan, you're so close to me, yet so far away. Why is it so hard to catch you? Was it all for the word? All those words and even keeping her beside him? If it was not to show the word, he probably wouldn't even let her hold him. God, why did she have to fall for him? She was happy without it all too. And like a fool, instead of trying to move on, she instead relied on hope. Hope to have him someday fall for her too. She looked at herself in the mirror and suddenly started to hate her body even more. It was all because of this body after all. She did notice a slight change in her belly and decided to go on starving mode for a longer time. She wanted to get it over with as quickly as possible. When people started asking Jungkook about his wife, he called her, noticing her absence for quite long time. Vine saw her cell phone ringing and picked it up, but before she could press the green button, it fell off her hands and she suddenly felt dizzy. Black dots started to appear before her eyes, and her words started to spin, making her lose her balance as she fell on the floor unconscious without anyone aware of her condition. Her head got a bad injury due to the fall. The phone on the floor beside her kept ringing, but there was no one to pick it up anymore. To be continued.